So, the worst kept secret this offseason is that the Cincinnati Bengals are interested in drafting a offensive tackle and drafting a tight end. Sorry that I turned my webcam off. I don't know, my allergies have been going crazy lately. So, with that being said, I want to look at all the tight ends that Cincinnati has met with so far for this upcoming draft. Right? Because at the end of the day, any of these assets, they're meeting with these guys, they in some way see them as an asset for the future for their team. So let's learn more about them. Starting off right away, the first player we have here is a guy we don't have to learn much about. Because if you watch the channel or you're a Bengals fan in any way, you already know about Brock Bowers. I am going to be talking about all these players as if we don't know about them, so bear with me for the first guy. Brock Bowers is a tight end from Georgia. He is projected to go in the top 15 picks, and he is the best tight end on the board. He is a generational talent. With that being said, as it says right here, Bowers is one of the most well-rounded tight end prospects to ever enter the NFL. At Georgia, he was an SEC Freshman of the Year. In both his sophomore and junior seasons, he was an All-American and the John Mackey Award winner, nation's top tight end. His build-up speed is good for the NFL, which is why he has an elite after-the-catch ability. He has some of the strongest hands you'll ever see for a tight end. As a blocker, he might be the strongest pound-for-pound tight end you'll find. His versatility allows him to be an elite pre-snap moment piece as defenses have to account for where he is at all times in all formations. So he's 6'4", 240 pounds, and when I say generational talent, I'm not using that term lightly. He is truly a generational talent. Where he struggles from and his problems are route tree could be somewhat limited. Build up speed rather than twitch explosiveness, but the build up is fast. A little stiff when it comes to cut in his routes. This explains his low separation percentage against single coverage. But with all the negatives, he also has a lot of positives. Change of direction is solid. Good build-up top speed. Impressive after the catch ability due to his balance and yards after contact. He's also a contested catch machine. Blocking ability in space in fundamentally sound and reliable. Pound for pound, a powerful and reliable run blocker, great lead blocker on split zone concepts and counters, and even an extensive snap experience between inline and slot. Ultimate chess piece as a pre-snap motion player. There's a reason why we might not bring back, well, we're not going to bring back Tyler Boyd, and well, we don't have to worry about the slot position this upcoming year. And a lot of the reasons why is because we signed Mike, our new tight end from the Dolphins, who actually lined up 70% of the time in the slot last year for the Patriots. So that's a huge W. And now you have Brock Bowers, who we could draft, who also has lined up in the slot a lot of times. So that's the first guy, okay? That's the first guy. We already know about him. The second guy we have here is Jayden Sanders. This is a tight end from Texas. Again, like I said before, 6'4", 243 pounds. Sanders is a former 5-star recruit, looks like a supersized athlete. Coming mostly from an inline or a wing back position, he is constant vertical threat and a mismatch for most linebackers in coverage. His hands are reliable, as he did not drop a single pass in 2023. His explosive movement skills allows him to run routes like a receiver. He wasn't on a team that also included Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, and Jordan Willington. He could have easily had been a 1,000-yard receiver. He possesses all the tools to be an impact blocker as well. His tape does include snaps where he lacks the necessary blocking physicality against smaller players. So what it looks like is, and again, he's a great receiver. He's not much of a blocker. So what we like in Cincinnati is we like to use our tight ends as blockers. We use them as receivers, but we also use them as blockers. And that's a huge part of our offense, especially with Zach Taylor, is utilizing the blocking ability. As it says for his cons, I wish he approached blocking with more violence, as he did in 2023. or did improve in 2023. Still a bit clunky with some of the nonsense for the position, footwork as a split blocker, zone blocker, lining up defenders in space. He's a true athlete for the position as his long speed, acceleration, and change of direction are all pro caliber. He moves like a giant wide receiver who can run any route. Has the intangibles to be a good blocker, but just isn't physical enough at times, which again is all technique he can learn. He can get better over time if we can teach him correctly. We have a great tight end coach. We can figure this out. And we have Drew Sample and Tanner Hudson, who are both veteran tight ends. A lot of his snaps came from the inline, which made him a very tough seam and vertical matchup for defenses. So that's our second guy that we have met with so far. Now, the next guy we have met with is actually ironic because for some reason, every time I draft this guy, Eric All, Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator hates him. They always give me an F grade whenever I draft him, but he's not a bad tight end by any stretch of the imagination. He's 6'5", 250 pounds, and you can see there's not really much of a write-up about him because he is a little bit down the board when it comes to options. He is the third tight end, technically according to this. He's the third tight end on the board, but I've seen some mocks where he is even lower than that. So it's one of those situations where there's no problem with him. He just isn't the top tight end on the board. Now, Cade Stover, for example, does have a write-up about him. And then, of course, Ben Sinnett, who had a fantastic combine, has a write-up about him. And actually, okay, no, I thought these guys didn't have write-ups about them. But no, every guy here except for Eric All has a write-up about them. Okay, no, not Bell. AJ Bonner? Okay, so some guys don't. So Bell doesn't have one. Eric All doesn't have one. Does Tanner? I don't know why I'm reading names incorrectly today. No, okay, that wasn't. Tanner's right here. Tip doesn't. Trey doesn't. Okay, so then nobody else does. All right, so that's the next guy on our list, right? Now we have a newer player here, which is Colorado State's Daran Hunker. So Daran Hunker is supposed to be a third-round pick, it said. This is this guy right here. So Daran Hunker is a 6'5", 235-pound tight end from Colorado State. Hunker is one of the older prospects in the class. He started his football career at BYU and transferred to Colorado State in 2023. Though smaller for the position, listed at 6'4", 235 pounds, he is a well-rounded athlete. He is a good first step and decent build-up speed to be a consistent vertical threat, especially over the middle. He displays strong hands for making contested catches over the middle. He isn't a twitched-up athlete, so his routes are very well-rounded, which affects his separation potential. While he's a patient and fundamental sound blocker, his lack of weight shows up against bigger front seven players. I apologize. I am just butchering today. Lack of twitch and change of direction, flexibility limits his route running ability. Routes break are very rounded rather than hard cuts. Fundamentally sound blockers, but not an opposing one. So here's the thing about this one, right? Is that what this tells me right here is, again, he can't make hard cuts. So a cornerback or a safety or a linebacker, they can watch him and jump the route. And that's the problem. All of this stuff right here, for the most part, this can be taught, but this is also like kind of body-wise. This can be taught completely. This is technique. Natural mover, not an elite athlete, but a well-rounded one. Conscious to always attack defenders square between the shoulders when blocking. Has some tough catches up the seams and over the middle. So, I mean, he looks good. He looks good. Again, like I said, if the Bengals are meeting with him, obviously there's some positives to look at there. But those are all the tight ends we've met with so far. We met with Daran Hunker, Eric All, Jayden Sanders, and Brock Bowers. I'm sure we're going to meet with more players before the actual draft happens, as we have a month before we're there. But guys, tell me down below your thoughts and opinions. I'll see you guys next one. Peace.